emerging at this point, hinting at differences between Diageo and Vijay Mallya, a story that has been ongoing for a long time now. Recent disclosures have raised questions about the open offer price that was paid by Diageo for the United Spirits takeover. And to give us more details on this and to discuss this, Menka Doshi joins us now.
Well, Sonia, thanks very much for that. And Rima, hi. Good day in the markets. You know, like you said, every day we find out more about the fractured relationship between Diageo and Vijay Mallya. The last big headline was that the USL board had asked Vijay Mallya to step down as chairman, which he has refused to do. But recent disclosures have raised questions about the open offer price paid by Diageo when it first did the acquisition. Proxy advisory firm SES says the open offer price did not include certain benefits to Vijay Mallya, benefits that have now only been revealed. SES founder JN Gupta joins us with more on that. So the open offer price when the acquisition first happened was 1,440 rupees. Yeah. You're saying that price in some ways is fiction because there were other benefits to Vijay Mallya that Diageo had promised, or indirect benefits to Vijay Mallya that Diageo will now have to deliver on, which ought to have been factored into the open offer price. The first one you allude to is a guarantee, a bank guarantee that Diageo gave to a Mallya entity called Watson. Yeah. And that Watson was going to use that money to sort of relieve the lien on certain USL shares that it owned so that it could sell those shares in turn to Diageo. That bank guarantee is about to be invoked, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, can you give us more details on why you think that's not priced into the open offer?
See, I mean, the whole objective of the takeover code that SEBI has set is very simply it has to be fair, transparent and give a treatment to the shareholder at least the same, if not more, that has been given to the seller.
So that's accepted. Why are you saying that the price does not reflect the bank guarantee?
Why we are saying is this: when those shares were bought by Diageo, those shares were earlier pledged to a lender.
Correct.
Under a facility to Watson or whatever it may be. Diageo agreed to extend a bank guarantee to release those shares and purchase those shares. So what happens when you issue a bank guarantee? You have a cost. So that is the very nominal cost of the bank guarantee, commission or foregoing on the interest. But the bigger issue in a bank guarantee is the contingent liability that may arise out of the invocation of the bank guarantee. And as is the case, which Diageo has mentioned in its annual report, that there is a likelihood that they will not be able to recover this cost from the, they were not able to recover this money from the Mallya.
So essentially the bank guarantee that they had given to a Mallya entity is about to be invoked because that loan for which they had guaranteed, the Mallya entity has defaulted on that loan. It's a $135 million loan and the Mallya entity has defaulted on the loan. So there's a good chance that this bank guarantee will be invoked and therefore this money will have to go from Diageo's pockets.
Yes,
you're saying it should be accounted for as part of the acquisition price.
My point is this. I have been a banker myself. When you give a bank guarantee, you give bank guarantee for a purpose. And especially in a bank guarantee which is given for the third party where you have no control, then there has to be very strong logic for this. So first of all, Diageo and Mallya, they never disclosed to the regulator or to the public at large that there was an underlying transaction.
But they did disclose in the 2013 annual report that such a bank guarantee had been extended,
so
right?
The disclosure, the open offer disclosure was made on 10th November 2012. And that time then, and all these things were already decided by the parties that this will be
How do you expect Diageo, the acquirer, in 2012 to know that a bank guarantee that it was offering an affiliate entity of Vijay Mallya was ultimately going to get invoked in 2015 because Mallya was never going to pay that money?
I'm not at all arguing it.
So how could they have factored it into the open offer price?
But my point is this. First, they should have disclosed it. Secondly, look into the circumstances. A person does not mortgage or pledge his shares unless until there is a financial difficulty. The second logic is this: if you are selling those very shares which you have got released from using my guarantee, why don't you pay the same money which you got it from me to release the bank guarantee also? Why it has to be double financing for the same very shares? It is like this, that I am buying a house which has been mortgaged by the seller to a bank. First I give a guarantee to the bank to release the mortgage and pay the same money for the same house. So that means the person is having his money also.
So you're saying Diageo paid twice for those shares, technically.
Now coming into when the guarantee has been invoked, it is proved that they are paying twice. But the issue is...
But in the disclosures, Diageo does say that we may not. I mean, it's a complex process of the guarantee being invoked, and therefore what the contingent liability on USL or Diageo's books will be in that sense. So it's not necessary that the full amount of $130 million will be paid by Diageo.
You have brought a very interesting fact into this, because if you see the full disclosure of Diageo, it is Mr. Mallya who is disputing everything. He says that Diageo has promised certain financial benefits to me, and Diageo has failed. Now
so that's your second point of contention, that those certain financial benefits, nobody knows what they were or what they are, those too have not been accounted for in the open offer price. These are all disclosures that are coming out in the open only now and indicate that there are indirect benefits to Mr. Mallya which should have been priced into the open offer.
So that's the whole deal was an integral thing. As things are unfolding now, it appears that 1440 was just a naked price that was paid. Attached to that was the bank guarantee issue. Attached to that was the financial benefit that were promised to Mr. Mallya, which Mr. Mallya is saying that Diageo did not fulfill, and that's why their fight. So as far as I am concerned, I don't care what their fight is there. But look at the shareholders who should have been told that these are the attached transactions related to the purchase.
But tell me one thing, sir. You are a former ED with SEBI. Aren't these details supposed to be filed by acquirers with the regulator so that the regulator can scrutinize the open offer price and determine whether the public is being offered the same price as the exiting promoter or the,
that is
the exiting owner?
We are questioning. We are saying that all these things were hidden from the regulator. Had these things been brought to the regulator's knowledge, probably they would have factored all these things or may not have factored. That would be a decision that would have been taken looking into the whole things. But today I am saying, first, all these things were done. Secondly, they were hidden from the regulator. And now the thing is that, so in my opinion, only on those portion of those shares which were pledged by Watson and which were released, those 900 crore liability has to be attached and the price to be worked out. And if that price comes out to be 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees, whatever it may be, that price should be deemed as a price which was paid to Mallya and company. And now in that open offer, only very 66,000 people had 66,000 shares were tendered. So because the offer failed because of the price. So a regulator should say that whatever the maximum number of shares that were to be acquired multiplied by the gap in the price should be deposited with SEBI as an investor protection fund, so that in future such things do not happen.
Okay, but shareholders don't get to benefit at this point in time.
I agree. Direct shareholders may not benefit. Maybe 66,000 shares which were purchased may benefit. But long time, see, shareholder benefit need not be 1:1. As long as we are able to remove all such things for future transactions, it is benefit of shareholders.
So I was talking to some lawyers about your report, and I think the key feedback I got from them is that it would be very difficult for an acquirer at the point of acquisition to determine whether a future or a bank guarantee is likely to devolve in the future, and therefore that amount should be added to the acquisition price. It would have been equally difficult for the regulator to determine that. But yes, on the point of disclosures, I think almost all of the lawyers I spoke to said, why weren't these disclosures made at the time of acquisition? What are these financial benefits that have been promised to Mr. Mallya, which Mr. Mallya is claiming today? And why wasn't all of this revealed to the regulator as well as shareholders? So the question mark on whether 1,440 rupees is the actual deserved open offer price or a piece of fiction remains.
To me it remains. But my point is, again, I agree that it may not be. But if you see, those people who were doing the transactions are not knaves. They are very expert and they knew what transactions they are entering into. And when you enter in a transaction of undoing the pledge and paying the same money, and for the same shares you are paying the money also and the guarantee also, I don't think any rational person will do.
All right, Mr. Gupta, thanks very much for those details. When the new takeover code, Sonia, took away that whole opportunity for promoters to get paid a premium, a control premium, as it was in the earlier era, there was a fear that, acquirers and promoters would find indirect ways to give the promoter some slightly better benefits, higher prices than shareholders would get. What Mr. Gupta seems to be indicating is that those are the kind of indirect benefits that have accrued to Mr. Mallya, which other shareholders did not get.
Exactly. I just have one question. He said that the attached transactions should have been in some way disclosed to shareholders. But how do you as a minority shareholder protect yourself from things like this?
Well, see, for protection of minority shareholders, that's why the whole organization like SEBI is there.
Yeah.
SEBI has to make sure that all disclosures are made. Leading questions are generally asked. But here it is a transaction which SEBI would not have known what is happening, because SEBI will not act as a forensic accountant to go into each and every transaction. But the merchant banker were aware, because when you are doing a transaction, that what shares are being sold, the moment you are saying that these shares are at present pledged to XYZ and these shares will be released, then the question comes that how they are going to be released, where the money for that. And when this question would have been raised, it would have immediately come that the Diageo is extending a bank guarantee to that. So that all the transactions, any person who is associated with the transaction, I am not ready to believe that he or she was not aware what is the entire contour of the transaction.
All right. Thanks very much for that.
All right. Thanks, Menka. Thanks, Mr. Gupta, for giving us more clarity on this. But we've run out of time. Our closing bell money